How's it going? Bowman here with another episode of Esports Meditation, and today we're going to talk on two topics. One briefly, but the main topic will be language in the esports scene, especially in the professional broadcasts of different events and everything like that. But first, I want to talk briefly about the CSGO announcement yesterday regarding majors and the prize pool. Valve announced that starting with the MLG Columbus major coming up here in about a month and a half, is going to increase the overall prize pool to $1 million. Overall, that's exciting. I think it's a great move for Valve. It's a step in the right direction, to really drive that professional scene and that competitive scene, so that way when the teams are trying to qualify and they get to the majors, they're really trying their hardest, because those majors should be the pinnacle of competition for CSGO. And there was other tournaments who was offering the same prize pool of $250,000 prior to this change all last year, and it made the majors almost less spectacular, less important when they can go to this other tournament and make the same amount of money. So the breakdown real quick of how the prize pool is going to work: the winner gets $500,000, the finalist gets second place gets $150,000, third and fourth place gets $70,000. The quarterfinalists get $35,000 apiece, and anyone who makes it to the group stage just gets a default $8,750. So it's very stacked towards the winner, which I think is outstanding. They're the ones who defeated everyone else in the tournament, so they should get a little bit of a nice bump for that. And the rest of them are respectable for people making the major anyway. So even second place is a larger sum than what the first place in previous majors won anyway, so it's still not terrible. But overall, again, I think it's a step in the right direction compared to other esports, like with Dota. The last international had over an $18 million prize pool, and the winners took home $6.6 million. So comparatively, $500,000 versus $6.6 million. CS:GO is still way behind. Now, obviously, Dota 2 is a crazy example, but it's still Valve. So within the same company, and both esports are fairly similar as far as popularity, they should probably even those out a little bit. Maybe add crowdfunding to CS:GO, keys and cases and stuff like that in order to help boost those majors. I don't think that'd be a bad idea. League of Legends also has $1 million prize to the winners, and a larger prize pool for their overall scene. I think it was like $2.1 million for the last World Championship. But when you have smaller games like Smite, offering $1.2 million to the winners and a $4.4 million prize pool, if you're a bigger game like CS:GO, you really need to have one of the larger prize pools. You need to emphasize why you're the bigger esport, why you're the more popular esport. And Valve may or may not keep increasing it year over year or every 2 years. Who knows? They're very tight-lipped about the things. But we hope that with this decision they made yesterday for majors going forward, that it's a sign that they're trying to get more involved in the CS:GO scene, or at least as involved as they are in Dota. That'd be a nice step in the right direction. But we'll see as it comes. So on to the main topic of today's video, and that is language in the professional esports scene and whether or not it's appropriate or not. Now, we're going to cover a couple different topics, from journalism to commentating to broadcasts, and how those are handled and the ways that they should be handled or shouldn't be handled, and whether or not certain language is appropriate. Now, to start off as a disclaimer, I'm going to be cussing in this next segment. I'm going to be, and it's for the purpose of giving examples and context for what is appropriate and what's not appropriate, at least in my opinion, for these professional esports scenes. Okay, and to kind of start off, most games that are in the esports scenes are mature games to begin with. There's blood, there's guts, there's headshots, there's mature themes, there's sexual themes, there's drugs, there's all these types of things. I think of Mortal Kombat X. Have you seen the fatalities in that? They showed those fatalities on the CW last week on their Mortal Kombat special, where they showed the players, qualifying for the ESL championship. That was, those fatalities are extremely graphic and awesome, by the way. I think they did a really good job with them. But that's the type of games that we play. That's the type of games that we watch. So there should be a level of maturity with the broadcasts and professionalism, but that doesn't. But I also think it should be on the level of like PG-13 movies. PG-13 movies have cussing in them. They're even allowed one fuck. So, and that's where I think the professional scene should be, because it's not like, let's give another example, like the NFL. Okay, the NFL tries to stay fairly, professional with their language, and they fine people for inappropriate language and stuff like that. But it's also because they're trying to cater to all ages. They have their Play 60 campaign, and that's directly directed at kids who are watching football games to get outside and play and everything like that. And so when you're specifically targeting children along with all the other age demographics, you kind of want to, make sure your language is for that demographic. But with esports games, we're not targeting kids. We're targeting adults and even older teenagers, because those are the people playing the games who are supposed to be playing the games. We all know we've met that 8-year-old, in the game, and they've yelled our ear off, whether it's in Call of Duty or Halo or Counter-Strike. We've all met them. They shouldn't be playing that game, but they are. And so regardless, there's a level of maturity in these games that needs to be, I think, maintained in the esports scene. Now, it's very easy to take that out of context and go way too far with it, okay? For example, if you're doing a post-game interview, okay, and the interviewer asks the player, and, well, what do you think about this person? They kind of, they stuck it to you for a few of those rounds, and if the player's response is, fuck that guy, that's too much. That's way over the line. It's not appropriate for that broadcast. But can language be used in that interview in an appropriate way? Yeah. I think back to Freiberg's interview at one of the DreamHack events with Sir Scoot. And Freiberg, just in his natural exclamation about how the game went, and in his excitement, he dropped an F-bomb. And he immediately apologized for it. But then Sir Scoots, in his wonderful fashion that he is, said, we don't fucking care that you dropped it. Like, this is a mature game. This is a scene that has mature players in it. So if you drop the occasional cuss word, it's not that big of a deal. Now, are there broadcasts out there like ESL who, tries very hard, to cater their language? Yes, absolutely. And that's their choice, and maybe they're doing it for a business decision. If you've been watching my channel, for the last couple weeks, my first video about, sponsors and advertisers, as far as, how we as a community back in the day, back in the 2005 range, lost a sponsorship because of, language and, abusive, administrators in our forums. Now, I want to put that into the context for this discussion. The reason we lost that sponsorship from Coca-Cola is because of that first phrase example, like, the fuck the cunt phrase that I said earlier. Too many of those types of phrases were being uttered in the forums, and they were in a very derogatory way, they were in a very negative way, and they were not done in any professional or mature fashion. That over the line, over the board, content is why we lost that sponsorship. It wasn't because, when we were fragcasting one of our matches back then, someone got a sick triple kill, as they were assaulting the flag room in Unreal Tournament, and the caster went, oh shit, that was awesome. Like, using a cuss word as an exclamation, is appropriate in those mature types of games. When heads are popping off and flying, I think it's okay to drop the occasional cuss word, but again, it's got to be used in a very tactful manner, I believe, also. So, one way that language, I believe, can be used in a good way from the casters and from the analysts side is to enhance the hype that happens. I think to an FPL match, I forget what team it was, a CIS team that was playing, whereas on train 1v4 situation, and the terrorist had a deagle, And so we know what's coming. The guy, 3 shots, 3 headshots, bam, 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 and like he had to shoot. He hit one that was standing on top of the train, that was down to the right of the train. Then he flicked to the left and got the 3rd headshot, and then he did die to the 4th guy. But like in that moment, that was incredible, and the shock and awe, because it happened super fast. Even the announcers were like holy shit, that just happened. He just got 3 headshots in a row, and that exclamation of that I think is totally appropriate in that context, because it basically was verbalizing what we were all feeling as viewers. It was exciting, it was amazing, and it was fun. And I think back when I played Unreal Tournament competitively, at the time, I was a teenager, but the language didn't bother me. We cussed all the time, and it was in context to what was happening. I fradcasted back then as well, and it was, appropriate for the scene, for the game that we were playing. It was a mature game, it was a mature scene, and it was appropriate in the context that it was. Now, if anyone went overboard, we called them out on it. It was like, dude, stop that, that's inappropriate. And the scenes are a lot big. Esports is a lot bigger now, and so I'm sure this video is going to have people cussing up a storm in the bottom, which I think would be ironic, since I'm for the occasional profanity in the esports scene. But I do believe it has to be done with tact. Now, I'm not talking about people's individual Twitch streams. People's individual Twitch streams, they can do whatever the hell they want, as long as they don't break Twitch's terms of service. That's their personal stream. I'm talking about the professional scene, like your ESLs, your DreamHacks, your FPLs, your Faceit, those broadcasts, your Riot games, your LCS, all that. Those broadcasts is what I'm talking about, to where like we're catering to a mature scene. We're catering to our mature individuals. I mean, we're promoting fantasy esports, online betting essentially. We're catering towards that 18 plus. So I think the broadcast would be reasonable to have that teen rating or PG-13 rating for a movie comparison as far as how language goes. So it's never anything terribly crossing the line, but it can be used. Now, you got to think of this from a developer standpoint as well. If you're looking to get into esports, most people are designing their game for the audience they're trying to hit, which majority is a mature audience. I mean, even StarCraft 2 was rated 18 and above over in Korea because of language and drug use and sexual themes. Then that's in a game that, it doesn't jump out at you that that's in that game, but it is there. When you have, Tyrus smoking a cigar the entire time, that's an 18 plus theme technically in most countries. Smoking's not legal for people who are underage. So, having a level of maturity in all this, I think matters, but also keeping it within context, so that way, you're catering to the scene that you're in. I don't believe esports is a PG scene. If it is, it's because the game's a PG game. Are there esports communities out there for PG games? Absolutely, and those broadcasting should stay in that level of language, in that level of language. But as for your more mature games like Mortal Kombat, I would see no problem with that game getting the occasional mature language with that broadcast, because I mean, when you have freaking spines being ripped out of people's chests, it's a mature game. You're going to get mature content, and if someone's offended by the language and not offended by all that blood and guts in that game, well, I think they have their priorities a little bit mixed up. So, because that blood and guts is way worse than someone dropping the "oh damn." So, all right. Well, I know this is probably going to get a lot of discussion, and that's great, because whether you agree with me or you don't agree with me, that's your opinion, that's my opinion, and that's okay, because as you probably know, every other video of mine, as I mentioned, doesn't have any bad language in it. And that's a personal choice, because I didn't think it was warranted for those discussions. This discussion, I think it's definitely warranted, because I'm not against profanity, but at the same time, I think it needs to be used tactfully and tastefully if it is going to be used. And the best case scenario is to build it up for building up the hype of an amazing situation, like someone one digging 3 people in a row. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, we'll be having a couple more videos this week and a special event on Friday morning. So tune in, follow me on Twitter to find out exactly when that's going to be happening. We're going to be live on Twitch talking with a couple great individuals. Other than that, like, share this, favorite as you see fit, and have a wonderful day.